So write exercise 22-34. Okay, and we're going to start like we did with the beginning cash balance, which comes from the paragraph up here, 11,000. Okay. Then we can put in the collections, so cash collections, projected cash receipts from customers. And for January, in this example, it's 11,900. And February, it's 14,700. Oops. And they're scheduled to get 7,000 on the note receivable in January, but nothing in February. Okay. So collection on note receivable. So then we can add up January, so we'll have 29,900. And then we do the payments, so there'll be purchases of inventory. And January it's 15,100. February it's 13,300. And then they'll have selling and administrative expenses of 3,300 each month. All from the first paragraph up there. Okay. And then we can add up the payments. So I'll have 18,400 in January. And in February, I'll have 16,600. Okay. So if I take the difference between January's cash available and January's cash payments, I'll have, let's see, 11,500. Now, did you remember the label? Ending.
Yeah.
Okay, this is our ending cash balance, just ending, right?
Yeah.
Not before financing. Wait.
No, I think it's ending right. Yeah.
Before financing. Okay. And that's the amount. You got to be careful because that's the amount that becomes the February beginning balance. You see what I did? Okay. And that's how you take that number and you're going to test it against the minimum required. So this next step is not money coming out of your account. It's just a test to see whether you have to borrow, usually on your line of credit. This sounds like it's kind of like an overdraft when you read this paragraph where the bank automatically funds it. So we're going to subtract the ending, the minimum cash desired, which is 10,000, to see whether we need to borrow or not. And in this case, we don't need to borrow because we're 1,500 in excess. You remember the label here? Projected. Is it projected excess or deficiency? Mm-hmm. So based on your projected excess or deficiency, then you decide whether you got to borrow or not. So that's from that point down, it's really helping you decide whether you got to borrow or not. So in this case, you don't have to borrow. So the effects of financing are zero. Financing means you would borrow or pay back the borrowing. So in this case, you got to be careful because the ending cash balance will be the 11,500. It's always going to be this ending cash balance before financing plus or minus any of the financing. It has nothing to do with the 10,000. So I'm going to take the 11,500. That's really the ending cash balance that would get carried up to February. Okay. Okay, and then we can do the same thing for February. Tally up, so I'll have let's see, 26,200. Wait, is that right? This one is different. Did we add the Okay, so we're okay. Then we'll subtract 20, subtract the total cash payments from the cash available. And we get 9,600. Okay. So then we do the test. We test it against 10,000. Okay. And we figure that we're shy of 10,000 by 400. So we're going to have to borrow 1,000. Now our ending cash balance is going to be the ending cash before financing plus the financing. See, so it's going to be the 9,600 plus the 1,000, because that's actually a physical infusion of money, whereas that 10,000 that we're always looking at, that's not any movement of money. That's just a gauge to see whether we're at or above 10,000 or not.
So the 1,000 was from the requirement part, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because we're short by 400.
Yeah.
We have to borrow, but the bank requires us to borrow.
Oh, 1,000.
Yeah, in
Got it.
increments of 1,000.
Right.
So we couldn't just borrow the 400. We
Yeah.
had to borrow
The
1,000.
1,000. Okay.
Yeah. So that makes more sense now. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So now we're gonna have, what is that? 10,600. Right. So let's hope our labeling is correct. Oh, we got it. Great. So it's not a hard problem. It's just we got to make sure we label correctly. Make sure that we don't use the 10,000 as an actual part of the cash balance. The 10,000 is just a gauge to check whether we're at the amount we need to be. Now let's see. Let's see. How much cash will Southwest Auto Parts borrow in February if collections from customers that month total 13,000 instead of 14,700? Oh, okay. So what you would do is you would replace this 14,700 with 13,700. So it would be an additional 1,000. Because the difference between what you're actually doing is you're looking at February and saying, okay, we collected 1,000 less. So our total cash available would be 1,000 less. And that would trickle all the way down. This would end up being 8,600. So you would be 1,400 short, but then you would need to borrow 2,000. Okay, so instead of borrowing 1,000, we would borrow 2,000, and we got it.